So I probably wouldn't be on the stage tonight if it wasn't for a true love of mine. A love that has been around ever since I was a young child, and a love that is very much with me here tonight. And that is my love for languages. It all started when I was a kid. I grew up in Sweden, and my mother's always been really good with languages. And she would help me with my English homework, so I struggled in class. But she didn't just teach me English, she also taught me how to learn languages, which would empower me and set me on a very long path in life. When I was 18 years old, I left Sweden for Norway to find a job, and Norwegian is very similar to Swedish. So most Swedes who moved to Norway never bothered learning the language. Neither did I, until one day. I was working in a retail store. This lady comes in with her young daughter, super sweet, little cute girl. And in Sweden, we would call that a tös. So I said that. And this lady looked really frustrated and irritated. She didn't say a word, just grabbed her daughter and left. I asked my colleague what had happened, explained everything. And I learned that those exact words, tös, in Norwegian, is not a sweet young girl. It means weird prostitute. So I figured I have to learn a little bit. But I had to do it in my spare time, which was mostly spent in bars. So I did that. I went to bars and I talked to people. And eventually, I picked up the language. After 3 years in Norway, I moved to Spain. Now, I went there to study at a university. I studied a bit of Spanish back in Sweden in school, but I spoke like only a few words. And this was hard. This was really hard for me. And it was frustrating. I'm a very social person, and I love telling stories. And even more than telling stories, I love hearing other people's stories and engaging in them. And I couldn't do that anymore. There was this language barrier in the way. So I figured, all right, I need to pick up the language quick. And I was feeling this dread from it because that was a big part of my personality. The identity I had built up in my life was this person that I could no longer be because of the language barrier. Now, I didn't learn barely anything in class, so I thought, well, I have a tried and tested method. I hit the bars. Now, first I thought that would be harder in Spain because the language is not as similar as Swedish and Norwegian. But Scandinavians are not always the most social, especially now when strangers walk up to them in a bar. The Spanish, on the other hand, were very warm and welcome. So I would go to a bar by myself, find a group of people, in my poor Spanish, just say, hola, soy Sebastián, and explain that I wanted to learn Spanish. I usually get a response like, bienvenido, tío, venga, vamos. And I would spend entire evenings just like that, with strangers where I barely understood a single word. Then bit by bit, I started to learn a little bit more. But I learned something even more important just than Spanish. I learned a lot about myself. I learned to be vulnerable because I had to become comfortable with the uncomfortable situation and sitting in a group of people where I couldn't really engage in the conversation. And when you sit like that, in quiet, and you leave your ego aside, you start hearing more. And when you're not thinking about what impression you're making, you start seeing a lot more. And I got a whole new perspective, first of all, on Spain and its culture, but on myself. Who was I without this ego that I had built up? It taught me humility. And humility in itself opened up a whole new world. New people I would meet, interesting people, new experiences. I've made some amazing friends this way. Like my friend David, who's in Madrid, he came to Madrid for a very different reason. He came there as a political refugee from Russia after having protested against Putin with his activist friends in Sochi. But we had a shared goal. We both wanted to learn Spanish, and we both wanted to be part of the community. So we would take afternoons together in the park and have a few beers and practice Spanish together. That was about 8 years ago. I talk to him regularly, and we see each other regularly. Now, here in Lisbon, I'm doing much of the same. I am building up my own community using my love for languages. Like my hairdresser, who is so much more than just a hairdresser. She's my friend. We talk about everything. I go there even if I don't need a haircut. We talk about love. We talk about what to do on the weekend. We'll talk about gossip. And last year she invited me to celebrate her birthday with her friends and family. Or there's the woman who works at the optician next to my building. And they have this big window. And if I can see her when I'm coming home, I always try to wave at her. And if she sees me, she'll wave back with a smile. And just a lovely way to come home. Or there's the guy who works at the CBD store next to my Continente. He's from Brazil, he's a surfer. And turns out we have a lot of similar ideas on life and the philosophy of life. So now, going to buy groceries for me is a joy, because I get to pass by him and have a little chat on the way. All of this thanks to my love for languages. But it's not only the personalities that I've met, I've also started to notice different personalities in myself. And I don't mean in a weird way, but speaking a new language opens up a new part of you. So when I speak Swedish, I'm quite calm. So it's a bit like this. Pratar så här när jag pratar svenska. But when I speak Spanish, it tends to get a bit more energetic. Hola, crack, ¿qué tal? ¿Cómo estás? Here in Lisbon, I've found that Portuguese kind of become the balance between the two. It's not too calm, but it's not too intense either. Meia meia. Tá tudo bem, tá tudo ótimo. And I wonder, I don't know for sure, but it could be a part of it at least, if that is why Lisbon is the first place I ever lived where I can say I want to stay for a long time. I don't know how long. Who knows? But it's a long time. And my true love of languages brought me on this adventure. It introduced me to all these people. It gave me all these experiences and memories. And I believe truly that it has made me a better person. And I'm enjoying being that person. Now, I don't know what's going to happen next. I don't know what the next language will be, the next place will be. But there's one thing I know for certain, con certeza. And that is that my true love of mine, languages, and we're going to be together until death do us apart. Thank you.